Morning everybody, Silverbolt here. Back for a Transformers review, but something that's a little different. I've been playing with the idea over the last few days of doing reviews based on something that's a very little explored portion of the Transformers universe. At least to my knowledge, it's not very well explored. And that's on the comic-only characters, and throughout the cartoon series, like the Marvel, the Generation 1, the UK and the US editions, Earth Force, Universe, you know, and all that. There is a wealth of characters out there that never get a toy, never become into the cartoons, and never become real mainstream knowledge. So one of the things that I'm going to do is hopefully going to turn into a series of reviews based on comic-only characters. So instead of me, you know, doing my usual of sitting here, you know, with a toy, I'm not going to be doing that. It's going to be a review on the comics and the characters, and where possible, I will put in a picture of what these different characters look like. But the characters that are out there, you know, there's people, you know, there's Transformers like Wreck-N-Roll, X-Merate Zaran, Jahaxus, Pounder, Steamhammer, you know, that never get any kind of acknowledgement. And okay, admittedly, you know, the likes of Steamhammer and Pounder only have little bit parts. But then you get people like the Last Autobot, which, despite the fact that he's not in a huge amount of it, is actually quite important. So I thought it was something that could be, you know, it'll add an extra bit of depth to the Transformers universe. And one of the things I will do is I will organise all my videos into various categories. And when I say organise my videos, I mean get someone to do it for me so I don't make a right mess of it. So that, you know, if you want to know something on a Transformers comic-only character, you can go to the relevant section of my YouTube channel and find it. Because as I said, you know, it's something that's not really been explored to the best of my knowledge amongst the Transformers community. Mainly because there's nothing, to those who do toy reviews or to those who do character toy reviews, there's not an awful lot you can do when you don't have a physical interpretation of it in your hands. But we're going to give it a go. We're going to give it a go, and I'm going to start with a group of Autobots and their foe, namely the Magnificent Six. Now, the Magnificent Six is 6 Autobots, and it is Sunstreaker, Prowl, Jazz, Wheeljack, Inferno, and Stampede. Now, before Optimus Prime was leader of the Autobots, these Autobots were young, cocky, brash, arrogant, hot-headed, who really thought they were some kind of invulnerable superheroes. Yeah, including Prowl, which is a big drop from what we mainly know of Prowl's character. And they were sent out on a mission to Stanix, which is a part of Cybertron that was very heavily controlled by the Decepticons. And because they were so brash and cocky, they label themselves the Magnificent Six. And their first bit of action they saw was rescuing a group of neutralists. Now, the neutralists are Cybertronians who hold allegiance to neither the Decepticon or the Autobot side. What they simply do is they just they don't want any part of the war. They just want to stay out of it. Now, after rescuing them and going back to the hometown of Hux, sorry, no, the Hux is the Elder, Yus. Yeah, Yus is the name of the town, I believe. A Decepticon cadre under the command of Thunderwing bombed the place to bits. Sunstreaker, being Sunstreaker, makes a very flippant remark after I believe it was the museum that was destroyed, and this angered the town elder called Hux, who betrayed the Autobots to a Decepticon general called Megadeath. Now, Megadeath I will get to in a bit. Now, Megadeath captures the Magnificent Six and tortures them for 7 days. So yeah, it's quite a brutal story. Now, the Autobots, despite being the great big heroes of this battle, they actually get their will broken by Megadeath. And Megadeath is a master of psychological warfare, and when I get to the character of Megadeath in a bit, I'll explain about him. Now, the most expressive form that the Autobots' will has been broken is Megadeath taunts them by saying, I am going to kill one of your number if you don't stop me. Now just think about who the 6 are, right? Prowl, Jazz, Inferno, Sunstreaker, Wheeljack and Stampede. Out of all them, which one do you think is going to get killed? Yes, poor old Stampede. Who looks a bit like a Predacon. And if I can, I'll find a picture of Stampede to add to this video. Actually, I'll put it at the end of this video. Yes, I'll put it at the end of this video. This part of the video, before I put a picture on for Megadeath himself. Now, Stampede is killed by Megadeath. And the other 5 Magnificent 6 don't do anything to stop him doing it. And so they are very, very much racked with guilt. Megadeath then lets them go. And he gives them 2 hours to find the rest of the neutralists before an explosion devastates Stanix. Now he's using neutron bombs, which, to anyone who understands neutron bombs, why neutron bombs I don't know, because neutron bombs aren't dangerous really to technology, and seeing as at this point all the Transformers are all robotics, not organic, well, what kind of damage neutron bomb is actually going to do is pretty much unknown. Now, the Autobots of the Magnificent 6 weren't actually able to find the neutralists, so what they decided to do was they decided to hide and force Megadeath to try and find them and confront them. This they do, but Megadeath refuses to tell them where the bombs are. The Autobots are forced to run away, and the Stanix is basically turned into a massive wasteland. The 5 survivors, of course, this is pretty much a resounding failure for the Autobots, and they claim amnesia not to happen. Now these 5 Autobots, it wouldn't be the last time they confront Megadeath. They would do it again much later on. Optimus Prime sends them back to Stanix to locate the base where the underbase once stood. There's a bloody comic review, the underbase. There's a comic review I can mention. But anyway, that's not on this one. Now the five Autobots remaining of the Magnificent 6 go back with Silverbolt. And again they are captured by Megadeath. And the Autobots, of course, the 5 of them have been racked with guilt of this, because they basically sat there and watched Stampede get murdered by Megadeath, whilst they did nothing to stop it. You know, they did absolutely nothing to stop it. So they're feeling very, very guilty about it. And when they get captured again, they're again very much paralysed by the indecision, by paralysed by indecision when they get captured. They even are put in the same building in Yus where Stampede was killed. And it's Silverbolt that convinces them, you know what, you've got to do this, you've got to break away from this, you've got to snap out of it, or we're all going to die here. And the Autobots basically beat Megadeath, nearly beat Megadeath to death. Megadeath to death? With their bare hands, you know, something inside them just pretty much snaps. How Megadeath survives the explosion of the neutron bombs is never really made clear. Megadeath, however, decides to commit a kind of suicide. He basically punctures his own chest and shatters his power core, so he is destroyed. It's almost a kind of suicide. Now, as to the, and now I'm going to stop this video and I'll show you a picture of the Magnificent 6 and of Megadeath, and then I'll be back with the Megadeath storyline. Isn't Megadeath a cheery-looking chappy? He looks like a nightmarish version of Carnage, with those teeth. Anyway, as to Megadeath himself, now Megadeath is pretty much a psychotic loon. He's very much out for the extermination of everything. I mean, Starscream's line in the Transformers community is, I will rule the universe even if I'm the only one left in the universe. It's pretty much Megadeath's personal motto. the Decepticon High Command tried to stop Megadeath doing what he wanted to do. Even by the Decepticon standards, Megadeth's ideas and methods were completely out of control and completely unreasonable and completely not wanted. So what Megadeth does is he goes into Stanix and he begins to build together an elite group of Decepticon warriors in the hope that he can eventually challenge Megatron. To give you some idea of just how powerful Megadeath is, he brings Thunderwing under his command, and that should really tell you. And Thunderwing's a comic-only character, but he does have quite a bit of fame in the Transformers community, so I'll probably do a review of him at some point. Megadeath has 3 eyes, all those little spikes, and that mouth full of teeth. Now, Megadeath, what forces the Decepticon High Command to get rid of them is that Megadeath decides he's going to drop a load of neutron bombs and turn parts of Cybertron into an acid wasteland. Decepticon High Command doesn't like this very much and promptly chuck him out. They stop him actually from rising in the ranks of the Decepticon High Command. Megadeath basically turns around and goes, well, sod the lot of you, I want to blow stuff up, so I'm going to do it anyway. And it's over while he's over in Stanix, and he's developing his 6 neutron bombs that he runs into the Magnificent Six, and the storyline that I alluded to previously. Well, the last couple of minutes. Now, Megadeath transforms into a Cybertronian jet, I believe. Yes, a Cybertronian jet. And when the Magnificent Six stop him the first time, they leave him wounded to a point where he can't transform. So when the bombs go off, Megadeath is in the middle of them. And how Megadeath survives that is very, very unclear. But he does, and of course, the Magnificent Six, well, this time the Magnificent Five with Silverbolt, fight him again, and Megadeath is so powerful he actually has a very special kind of power setting in his chest, which when he breaches his plexiglass, the covering on his chest piece, to rupture it, it causes a massive explosion, which is finally what kills off Megadeath. And the one thing left to say about the Magnificent Six is, of course, that, well, they're now much older and wiser and more experienced in the horrific ways of war and murder, and they no longer think that war is magnificent, so it's a very sombre ending. Now, the Megadeath and the Magnificent Six story was published in 1991, and it's a comic, it's a text-only book, and it is written by Simon Furman, and it showed up in the Transformers Annual 1991. And was written by Simon Furman. And after that, to my knowledge, there is no reference to Megadeath, however obscure or however fleeting. And it's an interesting story, if you can read it, because it's a much more adult theme, and you know, the Magnificent Six are almost painted as anti-heroes. The fact that they have been because Megadeath is a master of psychological torture. The fact that he can actually force someone to sit there whilst one of their friends is killed, and knowing that they could stand up and stop him, but they don't. You know, that's how good Megadeath is. So it's quite an adult story, but a lot of the comic stuff is quite brutal anyway. You know, people get killed left and right in the comics, and they don't do a prime and come back. But yes, that's the story on the Magnificent Six and Megadeath. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I do intend to release more of them. But for now, this is Silverbolt, with nothing to show, but just myself, signing off saying au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen.